I thought maybe this was just, a learning curve, right? We're new to this and stuff. But I shared my story with one of the current counselors at the city, and I was also with the Chamber of Commerce, because I joined with the Chamber of Commerce, and I was told, no. This is the kind of stuff we're seeing over and over again.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch, brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. "39 candidates vying for 8 seats at Medicine Hat City Council October 20th, and one of those candidates is with me now. Good morning, Michael Reid. How are you?
Oh, good. How are you, Brian?
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
We were just talking before we went on the air here about your background. You're not from Medicine Hat originally, but you chose to come to Medicine Hat. Why?
Well, a few reasons. One, my wife is from here. So my wife grew up here, was raised here, went to Medicine Hat College here, but had to move away to finish her degree. That brought her to Red Deer, where she was a teacher. But that's also where I was. I was up in Red Deer as a teacher. And we decided that we wanted to try something different. We were ready to transition into a different career, different phase in our life. And we wanted to open up our own business. So we had that opportunity to say, hey, we can move anywhere. This is a brand new start, but a couple of factors. One, that her family's here, played a big role, and so we were coming down and visiting. So we did fall in love with the city. So coming down and it was like, oh, this is beautiful downtown, beautiful parks, beautiful. It was amazing. Like coming down, actually, people said hi. So being in Red Deer, it was like, yeah, and I'm not trying to criticize Red Deer, but it was like coming to Medicine, and people would be like welcoming and saying hi. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is just great, right? So all those factors played a role into where we were going to make this new start. And so, so we decided to open up our own business, YogaRevolution, downtown.
Mm-hmm. It's refreshing to get an outside perspective on Medicine Hat, because a lot of us have been here for too long. We sometimes take our city for granted, but it's nice to hear nice things about our city from someone who looked at it from the outside. Yeah,
and I hope I bring that perspective. It just kind of comes naturally with it. I mean, and I don't hold this against me. I was born in Ontario. I was raised in a small little mill town in Ontario. I spent 3 years in Winnipeg. I moved to Red Deer in 97. I've been in Red Deer since 97. So I've been around, seen some different things, and different, I guess I have some different perspective on things, I guess. But yeah, looking at Medicine Hat from that outside, and that's what I saw. It was just, this is a great a great community to live in, and I'm excited for it. Yeah, like really excited.
So how do we translate that excitement and bring other people to have the same vision into Medicine Hat?
Well, I think that's the thing, is that Medicine Hat has a lot of great qualities. Those are the qualities that I saw, right? Like, and you talk about whether it be, I mean, we can highlight the sun, the climate, and the sunshine. You can highlight that. Mm-hmm. You can highlight that friendliness, that community feel. You can highlight the parks. Like, I mean, really driving across kind of prairie land and farmland, and all of a sudden it's this little oasis in the middle of nowhere where it's just trees, and like the coulees are like our mountains. We've got a view. We live kind of on the hill downtown here, mm-hmm. and we look out and see the coulees, and we just call those our little mountains, right? So that kind of stuff. Then take your historical piece of it, the characteristic, the history of it, our downtown, the historical buildings, the Medalta, you name it. All those things are beautiful that I think do attract people. I think there's other factors that are maybe preventing people from maybe establishing themselves here.
So we have a recipe for success. So what's spoiling the broth?
Well, and this is just from my experience so far. So when we opened up our business, and I know I've shared this story before, but I'm going to share it with you because I'm just going to share it. I love sharing my story.
We're on the porch. We're
just
talking.
Right. Yeah. So we opened up our business, YogaRevolution, and went through that process, all the process you have to go through, right? It's first step, do this, next step, blah, blah, blah. So we got to the point of having to work with the city to say, okay, here's what we would like to do. So city development, and we started that process. We were getting one department, our first department, yes, we want you to, go ahead. We're ready. We brought in, for leasehold improvements, we brought in a developer that helped us with making our leasehold improvements. They had all the blueprints and everything. Their engineers had it all laid out, and they said, let's get a pre-inspection done so that way we make sure there's no surprises. Because this is something that it's big for my wife and I. We have to go to the bank.
Putting your life into it.
Absolutely. And we have to go to the bank and get a loan and all those things. We're like, are we going to qualify for this, right? So what is this project going to actually come out to? I had already had the plans in my business plan, but then sometimes that's different than reality, right? So, but we didn't want any surprises. And we were like, no, you're good. And then it was at the end where we had already, now we're not just like ankle deep or knee deep or waist deep. Now we're like neck deep in, right? We've committed. We are committed as far as you can, pretty much as much as you can. And we were told, no. So a different department comes in, and particularly the follow-up inspection, saying, no, you need to have a fully accessible change room. And yes, most people would say, well, you should. Well, but we were already told we didn't. And the reason why we were told we didn't is because we had a fully accessible bathroom. Our change rooms were separate from our bathrooms. And we were told, no, that should still qualify you, so you don't need to do that. And then a few other little things. So in terms of fire safety for the stairwells. But these are all things that, well, why weren't we told this ahead of time? That was a $55,000 addition, where we're like, we thought we were this close to not being able to make it already. Now what, right? So it was very challenging and stressful, and I thought through that, obviously we made it. We did make it through. I thought maybe this was just a learning curve, right? We're new to this and stuff. But I shared my story with one of the current counselors on at the city, and I was also with the Chamber of Commerce, because I joined with the Chamber of Commerce, and I was told, no, this is the kind of stuff we're seeing over and over again. And I said, oh, really? And so I got invited by the Chamber to sit down last spring to reevaluate the municipal policy, do the review for that, for the recommendations through the Chamber. And I'm in that. I'm like, are you sure? Because it's just me. I'm just my own little business. And I'm in there with developers, engineers, like big time projects and project managers, and all sharing the same stories of how difficult it is, and it's that surprise. It's almost like you're gonna go ahead, no. And then what? And then it's like, no, like there's not even here's what you need to do, here's some solutions, here's how we can work with you, that kind of thing. So
is that what pushed you into running for city council?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and part of it isn't from a perspective of like, I don't have an attitude of complaining. I'm coming in angry and I'm going to change the world. I'm just like, no, I think there's things that can be done. So I'm big on taking action. So instead of holding back, what can I do? I'll share my story. Now I'll try and advocate. And then not only that, bring everybody to the table, because that's all I see. I see a lot of people working hard. It's not a criticism. I wouldn't finger point to any person, even department. I would just kind of say, I think there's a lack of efficiency. I think there's ways to optimize things better, and maybe change that script. Change that script. I use the word, we're open for business, rather than, I think our words say we're open, but our actions say we're closed. So being a part of that to help.
Prior to setting up your business here, did you have any experience as an entrepreneur? As
an entrepreneur, no. So my career, I when I first moved out to Red Deer, to Alberta, it was to work in the oil patch. So that was what got me on my feet, and worked in the oil patch. That's what actually got me through school, became a teacher. So no, my experience was in teaching. But I felt that my skills that I've developed and grown over the years as a teacher and in other areas of education, I was like, no, I want to use these skills into something else. So entrepreneurship was I said, no, this will be a good transition. But no, to answer your question, this was my first project. So along with my wife, I have to give my wife credit. Yes.
Or you'll be in trouble.
Oh yeah, no, I will, because it's hers too. This isn't just me. She says, you keep saying me, and I'm like, I know, it's us. You're right.
One of the things that this next city council is going to have to is sink its teeth into is the municipally controlled corporation. The idea that maybe running the daily utilities is too much for 8 people who don't have a lot of experience in that. Have you given any thought to that?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, like, I guess the first thing is, and I've used this phrase before, get our house in order first, because to me it's like, why did that council feel that way? And maybe there is a valid reason. I think, unfortunately, there's been a lack of trust with kind of how this last council has managed itself. And for whatever reason, again, I'm not pointing fingers, but when there's that lack of trust, then me as a taxpayer, I'm like, do they really need it? Or, right? So the first thing is get the house in order first. Build that trust. Like, say, hey, no, let's really look at this. And as a taxpayer, I'd be able to say at that point, say, okay, now if they're having to make that decision to rely on outside help to help manage this, I trust that they're making a good, honest decision. I don't feel that right now, right? And again, not about pointing fingers, and because maybe it is there, but we just don't have that. So first, look at that. So I'm not opposed to the idea, but I'm not saying yes, we have to. It's kind of like, let's get things in order first. Let's get a clear picture, because if it's something that this new council can come on and be a part of, and to be able to say, no, actually, it is manageable. We've now that we've got everything in order, we've got our priorities straight, and we're working uniformly, we can do it. Then why spend that extra money to bring someone in to manage it? However, if we look at that and it's become so diverse, and times change, that it's like, no, actually, we would get better return. We would get a better investment if we actually had someone else doing this for us. Then look at that.
Would your experience in the oil and gas industry help you if you were sitting on city council and looking at the utilities?
A little bit. I mean, it's limited. I mean, I was I was on the forefront.
You were
right?
a grunt.
I was a grunt, really, as I was. So, but being involved in that world, obviously, paying particular attention to what's going on in that world, and in oil and gas and energy. I mean, it was our livelihood, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, and then there's connections you make too, right? There's people that you communicate. So it's not, I guess I've seen it. I'm not criticizing someone who just goes into a career and then that's all they've ever done, and then their world doesn't expand beyond that. I have that experience to be able to say, no, there's more to it than that, right? So.
Speaking of energy, the Salmon Solar Project is another big ticket item that is on the horizon. Mm-hmm. Have you given any thought to where you would stand on that?
So again, I won't repeat all of that, but again, that idea of getting the house in order to make sure that decisions moving forward are done responsibly, and is there benefit for it? Now, I understand with this project, it's a little bit different because money's already been invested. They've already jumped. So I'm talking, when we were just talking earlier about me being in my business, and now I was ankle deep, knee deep, waist deep. Where are we in this project, right? So now it becomes the question of, is it worth cutting our losses? Is that where we're at and starting from scratch? Or do we say, no, at this point, we need to make this successful and make it successful, because we can't afford to go part way and then have this fail. So, but again, it's really looking at those numbers, and those are numbers I don't have in front of me. Right, and that's something that I don't know if any of us do, except maybe the current council does. I don't know, but get that house in order first. Really, really look at those numbers. But then that's what it's going to come down to. Yeah.
I suspect the answer to this next question will be the same as the other one, but the Southside Recreation Center is another big ticket item that we've heard a lot about in this campaign. Yeah. Again, can we afford it?
Yeah, and it's an important thing, because I'm hearing from a lot of families. I mean, and we're wanting to attract families, right? Like, I have 4 kids. They're all adults now. But I've been there. I've done that. I know what it's like, and I know that's important. If we don't have those kind of facilities and services, it's hard to attract families and that to the city. But at the same time, when we're talking times are pretty tough right now. cost of living has gone up and those kind of things. So we do have to be very responsible with, is now the time to spend? My other concern would be, because I've seen this in cities, I saw this in Red Deer particularly, where it's like, hey, we're going to go for this project. And it's like, yes, let's go for it. And then it's all of a sudden, as the project's unfolding, it's like, oh, but we got to cut this, and we got to cut this, and then we got to cut this. And then all of a sudden you end up with a project that's kind of mediocre. And you've just invested a lot of money into it. It's not sustainable, because now it's like, now we've got to find something else. Yeah. So before being reactive and just jumping in and saying, yes, this is what we need, I would really want to look at it from that perspective of, say, again, if we're going to do this, it's got to be sustainable. It's got to be done right. It's got to be done well. And then there's that second piece that it does fall on it. When we look at our budget and say, in order to do this, if this increases our taxes, you as the people, are you all right with that, yeah. Right? And really giving that feedback, because that's who we're technically working for, right? So
the property taxpayer, we've been hearing that they are saying we can't afford 5.7% increases every year. So you have to keep that in mind if you're sitting around that table.
That's right, and so I get it, and they're not easy decisions to have to make, but that at the end of the day, we also have to adapt to our times. So 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm depending on what, it might have been, yeah, these are great visions, but now as times change, we have to be able to adapt to those things and maybe curve our thinking. Not saying throw the idea out altogether, but keeping in mind, we want to make it successful, but we also need to make it so that way it's affordable, and being mindful of the people. Because great to have a facility, but if there's no one here to use it because nobody can afford to live here, then we've got a problem too, right?
Yeah. One of the issues in this campaign, too, has been the mustard seed and the people that we see collecting downtown that apparently have nowhere to go. Yeah. The mustard seed has withdrawn its application to use the old youth hostel, the labor hall up in Northwest Crescent Heights. If you're sitting on city council, what will you bring to that discussion?
Well, one is to bring people together, because one thing I've found, especially being a downtown business owner, is that idea. There's lots of agencies, the city, whatever it is, working really hard, coming up with decisions. But sometimes not everybody's at the table. So sometimes when we make a decision, we don't realize how we're affecting someone else. So I even think of it as the downtown businesses, right? As my business, I can think, hey, this is a great way that'll help revitalize the downtown. But then if I talk to my other business, my neighbors, and then they say, oh, Mike, that actually really negatively affected us, right? Maybe you shouldn't have done that. And I know that's a simple example, but this is where it is. It's making sure that we're bringing everybody to the table to find, okay, what we want a solution, and what is going to be the best. How is it going to best serve what the mustard seed's doing? How is it going to best serve those people? And then how is it going to best serve the community as well? So it's not just a Band-Aid, that it's looked at, again, it's sustainable. I mean, I just visited the root cellar, and I know they're a different thing, but just seeing how well organized and thoughtful. I gave the description to Melissa when I was talking, and I said it's like intelligently thought through, every little process, right? So that's that kind of thinking that we need to bring when we make a decision for the mustard seed and our homeless and less fortunate population. I know, and it doesn't solve the problem, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. So it is something that we have to be mindful of, and rather than complaining, rather than just being frustrated with it, say, okay, this is what we have to deal with. So let's put our heads to the table and let's find actionable solutions that are sustainable. And then once those decisions are made, like I think I wrote about it in a blog, I said, whatever community ends up taking on that responsibility of, say, wherever the mustard seed does get located. And I use the downtown as an example. I wasn't saying it has to be there, but say if it was, I think the rest of the community of Medicine Hat should be saying, whatever community it is, thank you. And we will support you however we can, because I know from wherever, doesn't matter where you live, if it comes into my neighborhood, which also happens to be downtown, there's going to be, oh, these are my concerns, right? If it was in the flats, oh, these are my concerns. If it's up on the hill, these are their concerns, right? Then wherever that ends up being, is the rest of us as a community then support.
Have you seen impact on your business downtown because of the people who are homeless, to use, I guess, the term?
So in terms of the homeless, my answer would be no. Where the impact is, and it's maybe not, it's not a yes or no. It's almost an indirect. Where I see the impact is when I talk to people who then say they're nervous or scared to come downtown. That's the impact. It's not the people themselves. And one of the solutions, like I kind of had the downtown voice group that we talk about of how to make it vibrant. And we talk about, well, what is in our control? What we can't control, what authority the police have. We don't have control of mental health. We don't have control of substance abuse. We don't have control. What do we? We have control of making it vibrant and exciting and a place to be, because downtown, when it's busy, it's the less fortunate homeless population are still there. We just don't see the less desirable behaviors as much, right? And if that's what we're talking about, that's how it impacts my business, is when I hear people saying, I'm nervous of coming downtown. A lot of times why they're nervous, because they're nervous about seeing that less desirable behavior. So can we find solutions? I mean, because we can sit back and say, when are they going to do something about it? When are they going to do something about it, right? It doesn't solve anything. And we can talk about that till we're blue in the face. But if we can find solutions such as, let's make it vibrant, let's make it active, let's own it, let's take pride in it. And then what happens is it actually, you don't see those less desirable behaviors, and which I don't. We've got a great police team that I know when they're around all the time. Like I have them on my phone if I need to phone Sergeant Brian and say, hey, and it's not out of a complaint. It's not because someone's done anything to my business. It's like, I think someone needs a little bit of help. And they're on it right away. Like it's all there. Like the supports are there, but we need to change that script, because the more that people start saying, I'm fearful, I'm fearful, I'm fearful, I'm scared, then what happens is that it becomes a reality. And that's what happened in Red Deer, I think. I think that, because I heard that talk, and then the downtown just became a ghost town. Mm-hmm. And it did become an issue. So anyways, that was a long answer to your question, but that's my perspective on this, is to say, instead of giving into that fear, and that's what it is. And it's valid. I don't want to take anyone's feelings away. Like they're valid concerns, but then let's say, then how can we work together to feel safe?
So it's been a long campaign, Michael. What have you learned from it?
Lots. So yeah, that's probably the simple answer. Now I'm going to talk, right? Because I like to talk. So, being a former teacher, I had all that, like, kind of that energy and passion and everything else that I would bring into my class. You can tell I've got lots of passion, lots of energy, right? Like, so, but now that I'm not teaching, it's like, where do I bring that to? So with this, it's been a huge learning curve, but that's what I love. I love to get out there and talk to people, learn more, and just listen to the stories. I give the example of, even with the downtown businesses. I'll use this as an example. I can come out into our meetings where I'm talking to every other businesses, and I say, okay, hey, what can we do as a solution to for this problem, an actual solution? I don't have the answers. But then all of a sudden I start to hear these other business owners saying, hey, let's do this. And I'm just like, oh, wow, like, that's awesome. Let's run with this, right? And then there's opportunity for me to be able to say, oh, and what about this? I've had this experience with this. Sometimes I get put in my place and say, no, Mike, been there, done that. We've tried that. I'm like, okay, good. No, I'm glad you told me. Or there's times where it's like, no, that's great. So as we work collaboratively and put everything together and unify everybody, we come up with some great creative ideas. So in terms of this campaign and what I've learned, I've been learning lots, and it continues to grow. That's the most important thing is I love learning, and I love being able to see then where can I put my skills to help bring people together to find those actionable solutions to make things better.
Sounds like you would be a consensus builder if you were to be elected?
Yeah, and it is. That's a really important skill for me. Is in helping people stay focused on, hey, yeah, let's not dwell on the negative. Let's keep focused on those positive things and bring ideas. No idea is a bad idea, that kind of thing. But then being responsible with those things, right? Weighing all the pros and cons, because I don't like making decisions that are uninformed. So, and as a group, I feel that's important too, right? So making sure that we've got all the pieces of information, because last thing I want to be able to do is put my foot in my mouth because it was like I didn't actually take the time to do the research or listen to the concern or the suggestion, right? Take everything into place, so.
Michael Reid, candidate for Medicine Hat City Council, October 20th. Thank you for the visit.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. It was a pleasure.